G'day, AJ Mahari here. Well, drama going on in the channel. And so now somebody that commented to one of the other commenters what they're going on about, that I, quote, heavily moderate the comments on this channel. Well, I guess not as heavily as this latest commenter that I'm going to do a response video to here said to what they said on my video. Borderline and codependent relationships are not real, they are situationships. So yeah, okay, let me just find that comment. If I could find it now, that would be a good thing. Yeah, Marcus apparently just knows everything about me. Doubt it. Anyway, Marcus says, AJ, we all know you moderate what comments you let through. I have spoken about moderation in the past. There's some moderation, but not, quote, as heavily, Marcus, as you stated to one of the other commenters right now. So I know what my limits and boundaries are. I put lots of comments through before, not just with what you're referring to, but comments people at BPD that are angry about videos I've done. Other kind of comments are people that push back against me. And I mean, disagreeing with me is fine, but pushing back is another thing, right? Because it just is. Anyway, so I put through lots of comments like that. Yeah, so I guess, Marcus, you know where my boundaries are, do you? So just because I've talked about comments that are moderated, yeah, that means more so comments wherein somebody who's a loved one of somebody with BPD attacks somebody in a comment or mocks them or something who has BPD who's commented to the channel. Or when somebody with BPD might leave a comment that's going to attack or undermine or be very not responsible to somebody who's expressing their pain of how they've been hurt by somebody with borderline personality. And are there a few other circumstances, like when people just are swearing their heads off or their comment is totally not legible? Yeah, there's some moderation on this channel, but it doesn't go as far as I guess you thought it did, Marcus. And please don't speak for me. But you go ahead and do that anyway, don't you? But this is your assumption. So cool. And then Marcus said, so you allowing the negative posts about your weight to go through. Get this. People, is obviously, says Marcus, whoever they are in the world, right? Obviously you using the abusive poster for your own needs. Okay. Well, you know what? You can think whatever you want, but that doesn't even make sense. It just doesn't make any sense. And then you say you are looking, meaning me, you are looking for sympathy from your audience. And of course I'm not, and I'm not going to push back very hard on this, right? And by the way, the comment made the channel because I don't moderate as heavily as Marcus seems to think, and I'm not using anybody's comments, nor have I ever, for anything to do with myself whatsoever. That's a little ridiculous. Anyway, and it's really would be interesting to know who you really are, Marcus. Yeah, because you got one of those not oh so very old accounts, don't you? Anyway, whoever you are, doesn't matter to me. And then, of course, here it comes, right? Because people that assume and people that try to talk for me in this case or anyone else in general, right? And they know what you're doing or why you're doing because, oh, we all know blah, blah, blah or whatever about AJ or somebody else, right? Gaslighting, assumptive, ridiculous, then says, that is very BPD of you. Well, first of all, I don't have BPD. You can think or believe whatever you want. Secondly, you're assuming this. You come along with this narrative of your own. So I'm not going to give you too much airtime, but I thought I'd address it. Because I'm sure there are people that are going to agree with you. People that are going to think the way you think. Because I'm used to trolls. And people that don't have any logic behind their insinuated, well, this isn't insinuated, they're thinking they know more than they do, speaking for me, making wild accusations. So, might not be exactly a straight up ad hominem, but, you know. So anyway, Marcus, think what you want, and 7 people like your comment so far, so maybe that turns into tons of people. And if people really believe what you're saying and that I would do something like that, there's nothing I can do about that. Like I said, what you or others think of me is none of my business. And that holds true for this too. And if I regulated comments as heavily as you assume that you could know, Marcus, then why is yours on the channel? And why am I doing a video response to it? Oh, sure, Marcus, I know what you'll say next because I'm being defensive. No, not really. I'm just being assertive, and I'm just saying that what you're saying is highly assumptive. You don't know what my moderating the channel means. I've discussed it before. I've outlined it before. But you don't know the breadth or the scope of, because I'm not into big-time censorship. So just because posts have, and by the way, a lot of those posts went through on live streams, or at least a certain amount did. And on live streams, and here's something for y'all to know, you want to insult me some more, or call me a borderline, or do whatever you want to do. It's not off limits on this channel. It never has been. But, so, on some of those comments Marcus is referring to came through on live streams. And when I do a live stream, there's no moderation of comments. So, and that has to be that way because if you moderate comments, which I don't always have all videos on moderated comments, but I guess, Marcus, you think that you can see inside my YouTube channel. Or you know, you certainly aren't somebody I know. You haven't been in, you know, where I am here, and you can't possibly know what you're saying. So that's what I find a little bit ridiculous about you, Marcus, and your assertion. But it's typical, isn't it, right? Because you're doing in a different way what the people that you're talking about are doing in a different in another way. So I don't care, Marcus. What people think of me is none of my business. So anyway, on live streams, and I don't have all comments on review on all videos. And even if they are on review on some videos, I don't review as heavily as you said, to your pun, to one of the other people, to say to what they're saying. And I have not engaged it. I have not spoken about it. I think I just said something in a live stream when somebody else asked me a question about my weight. Other than that, I don't care. So I just want to reiterate that on live streams, and like lots of other videos too, comments aren't moderated across this channel all the time. It's growing, it's getting too big, can't do it. So yeah, and on live streams, if you don't allow all comments, then the comments from your live stream don't get processed. So some of those, I don't know where all those comments are because I just don't tell you the truth. But some of them, and I don't know how many, I didn't go look and count, but they went automatically through on a couple of videos that weren't moderated. They went automatically through on at least 2 or 3 live streams. And I'm not sure how many or what the case was. So you come, and I saw your comment under, because I don't think that video had any moderated comments either. But I saw your comment under one of those other people's comments that I'm not really going to address. And you said that they better be careful because I quote heavily, which was your pun and joining in with them, by the way, Marcus. I caught that. for what that's worth or whatever that means. Who cares? And you said that I heavily, so there's the pun, moderate the channel. I guess you're a little bit wrong on that, Marcus. So that's really all I have to say. And people want to agree with you and your wild assumptions, feel free. I don't care. So the only other thing I'll say to you, Marcus, is keep it respectful. Or now that I've seen your assumptions and your false accusation, yeah, if you want to be able to comment on the channel, make it constructive going forward. So that's it. You never know, you just never know. But people ascribe, it will be it when I can find the button, yes. People ascribe and say the craziest things or things. I'm not saying Marcus is crazy, but they will say whatever they want to say to forward whatever works for them to forward, and it doesn't have to have any basis or fact or truth, because they just say it because what? They assume it, because they want to say, oh, you have BPD and so you're doing this. Whatever, whatever you think, none of my business. Bye. Oh, it's not going to stop. Oh my goodness. Anyways, take care.